There was a recent post on Facebook about the winner of the US South Grand Tournament, and it's turning heads for good reason. The winning list came from the Trident realm, and what's especially interesting is how heavily it leaned into shooting, which is a bold move despite claims that ranged firepower wouldn't dominate 4th edition. So let's take a closer look at the list and unpack what made it work. So, as mentioned earlier, there was a post on the Kings of War Fanatics Facebook page announcing a recent Grand Tournament win. I couldn't find much detail about the event itself, but the winning list was shared, and that's what we'll be looking at today. So here's the winning list. It's built around 2 battalions, each hosting 2 spellcasting characters, 4 units of Riverguard, and 2 Leviathan's Bane, a relatively same unit spam type of list at 2,250 points. Problem 1. Riverguard with Javelins. They start with 4+ shooting, dropping to 3+ if they don't move. Has piercing 1, plus a command that lets them wound on 4+, regardless of modifiers, and you're looking at 15 attacks that average around 5 wounds into defense 5. They move 7 inches, they have Pathfinder, and they can on the double through difficult terrain, without penalty. With a 12-inch range, they punish any move 5 units trying to approach, and even if they get charged, Nerve 16 is no joke, especially now that melee output across the game has been toned down. On top of that, Find gives them a risk-free withdraw, letting them reset and keep shooting. All of this for 155 points. When you compare Riverguard to similar units in other factions, the gap becomes obvious. Most alternatives fall behind in at least one key area, whether it's the shooting stat, the number of attacks, or the nerve value. The closest equivalents are Pack Hunters and Chakrams, but even they struggle to come close. For just 20 to 30 more points, Riverguard bring faster movement, more attacks, and a far deeper suite of special rules. Other factions simply don't get this level of efficiency in a single package. Problem 2. The Arcane Library. This list runs cheap spellcasters whose only job is to throw out high-damage spells every turn, and the spell selection is brutal. Blizzard, 4+, 30-inch range, Blast D3, Frostbite, Piercing 1. It slows enemy movement and still averages around 2 wounds into defense 4 at long range. Alchemist's Curse, 4+, 12-inch range, hits on 4+ the target's defense, with Piercing 3. It punishes high defense units, averaging 4 wounds into defense 5. Blood Boil, 12-inch range, has number of hits equals the wounds already on the target, with Piercing 1. Perfect for finishing off damaged units and pushing them over the devastated threshold. Now let's look at how this list actually plays on the table. This is the sequence I picture. Turn 1. Prioritize targets at long range using the War Machines. Any chip damage here matters later, especially once the spellcasters start stacking pressure. Turn 2 to 3. Advance steadily and keep the Riverguard at a safe distance. The goal is simple. Shoot, don't get charged, and keep applying wounds. A waiver at this stage is already a win. Turn 3 to 4. This is where the heavy shooting and spellcasters take over. You start pushing for waivers and devastated results, routing weakened units with Blizzard, Alchemist's Curse, or Blood Boil. If any combat looks unfavorable, Find lets you withdraw safely and continue shooting. Turn 4 to 5. At this point, you can consider charging anything that's close to routing. With 15 attacks, a command that wounds on 4+, and a respectable 4+ melee, they can finish off weakened units. With Leaper, Fly, and Speed 7, they have the mobility to pick their fights. Honestly, this isn't an easy list to pilot. The margin for error is thin, and shooting the wrong target at the wrong moment can cost you the entire game. Positioning, timing, and discipline all matter here. But in the hands of a top-tier player, the list shines. And the community already recognizes the pilot as one of the best. Congratulations to Dustin Howard. A well-deserved win. It's no surprise that the community isn't thrilled about the fact that a list this skewed towards shooting is even possible. A lot of players still remember how shooting felt in 3rd edition. Traumatic, oppressive, and not particularly fun to be on the receiving end of. There's also a sense of disappointment. The system's meant to prevent this. Battalion limits, nerve checks during shooting, and other safeguards don't seem to have stopped these kinds of builds from emerging. Speaking for myself, I just want to play a proper rank-and-file fantasy game. I don't want to see it drift into a grim-dark exchange of I shoot you, you shoot me, where the movement phase barely matters. Will we see adjustments in 6 months to a year? Hard to say. Mantic does not practice quarterly balance updates or emergency patches, unlike other systems. I'm not pretending to be a game designer, but here are a few humble suggestions that could act as quick fixes if shooting continues to be a problem. First, limit the number of units that can take certain upgrades. Like, exchange two-handed weapons for javelins to a cap of 2 units. Alternatively, reclassify these units as auxiliary or support, so they don't stack inside battalions as easily. Next, cap war machines at 1. And finally, check that any regiment with piercing 1 and shoot 4 plus probably shouldn't exceed 10 attacks. These aren't perfect solutions, but they're simple levers that could help stabilize things without rewriting the entire edition. In my previous video, I mentioned that shooting had been toned down, and I still stand by that. Skewed shooting lists like this have to go through special rules that specifically blunt shooting like fearless, stealthy, high nerve, and access to healing. I also don't have much data from this particular GT, so it's hard to draw broad conclusions from a single result. As for my own undead list, I'm confident they can handle Riverguard spam, but let's be honest, it would be an extremely unfun and annoying matchup. It's the kind of game where you're grinding through chip damage, managing waivers, and trying not to get bled out by volume fire. I'll go deeper into that when I release my Undead review video, where I'll break down exactly how the faction interacts with these kinds of lists. Thanks for sticking with me through the whole video. If you've got any thoughts or questions, drop them in the comments below, or join the discussion in the Kings of War Fanatics Facebook group. I intend to make more videos like this in the future, including battle reports and army reviews. I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you soon in the next video.